Hi, this is Deanna Kosaraju, founder of Global Tech Women. We are a network of 26,000 women around the world who are connected through technology. We provide inspiring role models, we provide resources, and we provide community to women in tech around the world who may or may not have access to those types of things. That's why we started Global Tech Women in 2012. And this is our fifth iteration of Voices 2017, because we feel that everyone deserves and should be heard. So that's why we do this conference every year, the week of International Women's Day. So happy International Women's Day to those of you who are watching live, as well as those who watch the recording. And also I wanted to mention that we stand in solidarity with the women in the United States, as well as around the world, who are participating in the Day Without Women March. We kind of feel like these sessions today are really kind of the technical woman sit-in for the people who participate in the strike, as well as those who support them. So we stand in solidarity with all of you. So I want to take a moment and introduce this session. This is really exciting for me, and this type of topic is really at the heart of innovation and Silicon Valley in particular, as well as a number of other places around the world. The title of this talk is Accelerating Growth Initiatives and the Process of Early Innovation. So this early process of innovation is extremely important to all of us in the long run, but can also be the most painful and challenging part of the innovation process. So I'm hoping that we'll gain some insight from Ruchika Mehta about this. And she's at Applied Materials, and she's been there for, I believe, 6 years. And she's going to walk us through her process for this innovation challenge and how she has accelerated growth over time. So I'm going to be monitoring the chat window over on the right-hand side. So if you have any questions, please feel free to leverage the chat window on the right. And then when we open it up for questions, you can also turn on your video and sound as well. So with that, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, great. Thank you for the great introduction. Hello, everyone. As Deanna mentioned, my name is Ruchika Mehta. I work in the new business development team at Applied Materials, where more specifically my role is to help drive the Growth Accelerator program. The Growth Accelerator program is basically what looks at company-wide growth programs and focusing primarily on new and adjacent markets. We report into our CTO. We look at our growth portfolio and we endorse and really foster open innovation. And you'll hear this term a lot as I go through my talk, but I want to kind of open it up front here and go into more detail about it a little later. Applied Material drives innovation in a variety of ways, and I'm sure most of your companies do so as well, including the number one choice is investing in internal R&D to continue to offer new products, new technologies. But the other way that we drive innovation, and we really, really believe in that, is collaborating with world-leading universities, research institutions, industry associations, and as well as government entities. We believe that innovation is seamless, and it kind of spills outside of our campuses. It purposefully collaborates with great minds to bring home inflections that move the needle. But as we all know, innovation must be more than just a noun or like a warm set of fuzzy stories. It cannot be bought, it cannot be legislated. Rather, at Applied Materials, we believe that innovation is a verb, it's a do. And I'm here to talk about just that. To begin with, let's take a very, very simple example, Coca-Cola. How many of you walk into a movie theater and get extremely excited looking at the fancy freestyle machine that's out there? That is exactly open innovation at its very core. The machine allows for users from around the world to mix and match their own flavors, and by the way, just suggest a new flavor of Coca-Cola products. The new product records the consumer flavor, and they can get it from any other freestyle machine going forward. This model of open innovation puts the consumers right at the center of the design process. And as the company uses the suggested flavors as a part of the external ideas that can be evaluated, this process just comes up with a new product line. What a great way to build happiness, isn't it? The other example that I'm happy to talk about is something that most households are familiar with, Lego. Back in the early 1990s, Lego faced really hard times in the form of dramatic sales drops and obviously drop in subsequent revenues. Following this period, the company kind of had an introspection thinking about what they were doing wrong, and they decided to make innovation their strategic imperative. The new Lego strategy aimed to focus on the consumer by linking both business and creativity. This strategy was known as the Lego shared vision. In order to innovate new Lego sets that can reach success in the market, Lego started Lego Ideas, where it was a co-creation innovation model where designers could log in and use their tools and create certain things that they thought would be great in the market. They believe that people don't really have to work for us to work with us. And another example that I'd like to talk about, closer to home, closer to the valley, is Samsung. When Apple, as most of you know, has adopted a really closed innovation model, Samsung has gone to the other end of the spectrum and done exactly the opposite. Samsung has built their open innovation toolset through the Samsung Accelerator program. This initiative aims to build collaboration between designers, innovators, thinkers to focus on different solutions. The program offers even office spaces, statistical capital, and of course, product support to entrepreneurs to help them build software and services. They have this accelerator available to people in New York, Palo Alto, and San Francisco. So as we talk about, the little examples that are more, I call them as soft examples of open innovation. And let's look outside and see what the world really looks like for the innovation process. How do experts really define open innovation? Professor Henry Chesbrough, who is the father of open innovation up at University of Berkeley, says that open innovation is the use of inflows and outflows of knowledge to accelerate internal innovation, but also to expand the markets for the external use of innovation. In this environment, the ability to rapidly reconfigure based on new information is what defines success. Think about it. Lyft owns no cars. Alibaba, no inventory. And of course, Facebook creates no content. It only resells it. As analysts, we must embrace what makes us uncomfortable and exhibit this healthy skepticism towards the current. A networked world creates a heightened need for collaboration, new sources of context, and better tools for information sharing. But the notion of open innovation is a relatively novel one, and many organizations, including mine, remain configured to succeed in an industrial world, but probably not so much in a digital one. As a result, organizations are often too slow to buy into this whole philosophy. I see this in my current role a lot when I speak with people who wear, business hats or growth hats in their organizations. And no surprises, the buy-in has not been unanimous. There is a conflict or natural tension, I would say, between openness and secrecy. Maybe there is, right? Some who I talked to were extremely excited about, thinking outside the box, looking outside the current set of boundaries, and some just plainly frowned upon the idea of letting people in. The classic quotes I heard was, "We're a niche company. There are tons of legal, NDA, IP issues. Seems like a lot of hoops to jump through, a lot of paperwork." And the one that came across a lot, maybe not in these words, was, "Hey, I have a real day job." Others were a little lukewarm about the concept. A lot of great ideas, a lot of great ideas get shot down without executive sponsorship. And most jaded and incumbent people who have been working for really long say that people do workshops, get external speakers, highlight case studies, and it's all great. but following through is the tough piece. My response to that usually goes like this. As industries are converging, there is a continuous blurring of technical and regulatory boundaries between all the sectors of the economy, right? Like there is blurriness between healthcare and technology. There is blurriness between manufacturing and digital trends. So the industries are definitely converging and coming to a point where we all need to think about what the real boundaries are. The not invented here syndrome that persists in most large organizations needs a severe change management effort. Entering new markets is the need of the hour. It is imperative to innovate. It is imperative to collaborate. And open innovation, in my mind, is the new definition of winning. The conservatism of our biology makes us poorly fitted to succeed during this radical change and radical time of technology changes. Organizations with the history of success are usually reticent to move away from approaches which have yielded successes in the past. They just want to hold those approaches and those processes, and they coin the term best practices and hold them to their heart, but do not evolve with time. They become delusional about their own market position because it's such the ego attached with it, and of course their organizational strengths. Not undermining anyone, but I think sometimes there's need to change with times, as we say in all fields of life. The glide slope for most disruptive ideas is often undefined, it's ambiguous, and it's bound to be littered with obstructionists. Without going too much into detail, I want to highlight this classic business school case that most of us have probably heard at some time, either in an external talk or actually kind of studied it ourselves, is Kodak, the quintessential example. It not only dominated the market sector, it even invented the technology, the digital camera, to go into a new market, and that very thing drove it into bankruptcy. New markets are ambiguous. While you are in the process of inventing and innovating, it is almost unlikely that the best and promising ideas are centrally located in one organization. And say, if I believe you, and if you tell me that yes, they really are located with you because you've hired the best and they are in the heart of your organization, is it really best practice to manage all the technology and market risk that comes with commercialization? Strategy is really about what you choose not to do. To quote a famous line that has stuck by me, no matter who you are or what your qualification is, most of the smartest people work for someone else. Thus, collaborations is what that helps you enter new markets, de-risk, and place your bets in multiple places. There are always my favorite enthusiastic few who are willing to champion this message and move it along. But this message has to be endorsed and overwhelmingly accepted by the leadership, by the corporates, who need to, and they need to weave it into the messaging that they send out into the world, into the markets, into the competitive scene, and even in the ecosystem with tactful but aggressive communication. Both internal and external communication efforts have to lead towards and specify our path to innovation. The more vocal you are about collaborating, the less you have to constantly justify to your stakeholders that what your approach to success really is. However, executive sponsorship does not really begin and end with legislating innovation on your goals or on your corporate scorecard or something that you can be tracked against or monitored by. In cases like this that require a whole mindset or a cultural shift, actions speak louder than words. Identifying those few pilot initiatives and running them quickly to grab the low-hanging fruit can really set the stage for future collaboration. The concept of open innovation begins with the notion that companies can and should use a combination of internal and external ideas to market as a strategy to advance the technology. The innovation journey is not always easy or fun. It sounds cool for sure, but I'm sure most of you have experienced that in your day job, that anything new, anything innovative has a lot of baggage that comes with it, a lot of questions that come with it, a lot of risk that comes with it. One has to be honest and critical with themselves about the ideas and their own ability to execute as a person, as a group, and as a company in general. Acknowledge your strengths, acknowledge your competencies, and acknowledge your weaknesses, and position yourself so that you obviously leverage those strengths that you have. Not everyone is an ideator. Some of us will champion and shepherd ideas, and some of us will be bridges and provide that amazing network, amazing connections, and hence everyone around you has a role to play in this ecosystem of innovation. This is your organization, and the organization needs your ideas and ingenuity to succeed in an uncertain future. Most importantly, look around. Look to the left, look to the right, look at the people around you, and because most of these individuals represent an important piece of that ecosystem that will allow you to succeed. Don't be afraid to think big and find that commercial space legacy of your very own. In large organizations attempting to disrupt new and adjacent markets, there is a need for a cultural shift to realize that not everything can be achieved by vertical integration. There is, of course, a merit in both flow of ideas, talent, and technologies that best fit business models, but there's also a need to outsource things that are underutilized, outsource ideas and competencies that are underutilized, and kind of put it out in the universe for others to incorporate. It is important to wake up, smell the roses, look around, and see what's there. As we think about innovating in new markets, building these new capabilities in companies is only being possible through collaboration with industry, academia, and government. It requires us to embrace new business models, human-centered design principles, and new technology certification, along with the changing regulatory standards. These new approaches cannot be developed in a vacuum, in your labs or in your research centers. Deep engagement with both traditional and non-traditional partners has become key and absolutely critical. Think about how you combine and recombine and shift so that people and technology, your missions are absolutely aligned. This requires agility. To sum it up, all I want to say is that we simply want to create the most efficient glide path for ideas to seamlessly move along the organization, to move the organization forward, and to be executed and adopted. We want ideas to be culled, to be reformed, and to be made better along the way. We want to be able to ideate freely, execute efficiently, and adapt with agility. Collaborations with clear incentive structures have always worked best, right? Incentives, it's really what drives people towards you and you towards others. But while we're on the example of incentives, a specific example comes to mind. This predates my time at Applied Materials, but it definitely speaks to this approach. We partnered with a venture firm just to get access to their technology center, to be able to explore, to be able to, decrease our time to market. And we were able to provide support in the form of financials from a Series A investment all the way through an IPO to that venture firm. This is a pure example of a win-win arrangement where incentives really help drive a partnership forward. The other example that I would really like to highlight is an example that we are working on currently with university. Applied Materials has had a successful industry academia collaboration with IIT Bombay, and this has resulted in a strategic partnership which is now celebrating its 10th year. This relationship has helped establish a vital center of competence for applied material within a lab space, within the great minds, within people who have great accolades and great academic background, and it has also helped develop a semiconductor manufacturing ecosystem in India. Innovating firms really need to balance market awareness with technical feasibility, because obviously we want the moon, but is it really technical? Is it really technically feasible to get that? As a testament to this approach, we've been working tediously to create a university startup map. And I want to highlight this effort because it gives you a day in the life of what open innovation really looks like. We have identified a technology and an area that we really want to get into, but we need help with. And now we've stepped on the gas. We've been spending our effort, our time, interviewing university accelerators, startups, both in their development and scale stages, to see what their technology capability is. So we map it to ours and figure out what's missing. What do we have organically? What can we get inorganically? This really helps paint a bigger picture of what the capabilities out there are and helps you think outside the box. It helps you evaluate who we can partner and collaborate from, like I said, both an inorganic as well as organic investment purpose. Today, firms have the need to innovate in order to be competitive. The investment in internal R&D is really not sufficient. At the heart of Chespro's model of open innovation is the recognition that today competitive advantage often comes from inbound open innovation, which is the practice of leveraging the discoveries of others. Companies need not, and indeed should not, exclusively rely on their R&D. Most companies that pride themselves in manifesting technology inflections believe that the best way to predict future is to create it. Innovation best thrives when the walls between industry, academia, ventures, startups, and government are all permeable. When innovation is deeply embedded in your company's DNA, working to expand your own innovation ecosystem through both internal and external collaboration is almost essential. To sum it up, and on this note, I wish you all success, because here in the Silicon Valley, there is a deep-rooted requisite innovation ecosystem. There is money for those who seek it, mentorship for those who crave it, high risks with higher rewards for those who can handle it. And my favorite part about the culture here is the celebration and acceptance of both success and failure, if it is aimed at creating value with the changing face of technology. So here I am wishing everyone happy innovating. It has been a real pleasure sharing my thoughts with you, and I am happy to answer any questions that you may have. Deanna, back to you.
What a fabulous talk. So optimistic and positive, which is the essence of what Silicon Valley is. So Thank you so much for sharing that. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to come online using video, audio, or you can use the chat window over on the right-hand side. I will ask a couple of questions that I have, and we'll see what other people are thinking as well. So, I've watched the evolution of Silicon Valley over the last couple of decades, and what I've noticed is that it used to be, in the 90s, for example, a lot of these big companies had pretty extensive labs.
Right.
And then we got into kind of the cost analysis, the Mark Hurd HP thing, where they started putting these labs into business units. If they didn't see a viable product within 2 to 3 years, they would scrap them. And so you see these big companies with fewer and fewer R&D facilities and really, more tied to these business units. In your opinion, do you think that that's had an effect on innovation? So now companies are having to go out to, like you said, universities and think tanks and to find that innovation, or, what do you see in your opinion?
Yeah, and that's a great question, because honestly, companies that are working in niche markets and companies like ours, which are like heavy on CapEx, that are providing CapEx to other companies, R&D can never go away. They always have to innovate internally. But the problem with innovating in newer markets is it's ambiguous. You don't really know what it is, and there's a lot of risk involved in thinking that, okay, let me see what AI looks like when I have no experience as a company to get into AI. Everyone's talking about automated cars. I would love to see what I can do in automated cars, but do I really have that experience? Do I really have the infrastructure? So I think labs are important to be able to innovate your core, to be able to have those groundbreaking innovations within what you are good at, and the business, like you said, the business units that are responsible for defending the core, for creating those N+2 products that are going to be in the core market. But I think these collaborations are important when we are going away from the core, when we are heading into those adjacencies, trying to see if our current platforms can be leveraged as technologies to anything new. I may have that technology residing with me in my lab, but I don't really know if I'm going to be able to use it unless I experiment. So I think that's where the difference is coming in, where collaboration is helping you de-risk and trying and place multiple bets. So if I identify one university which has one research program and another one that is doing a groundbreaking research in something else, I can use my budget and kind of put my bets in both those places, and then see what works for me and bring them back home and incubate it in my own lab. So I don't think labs are going to go away, but I think innovations that need more support and more outside the core, outside the box thinking will need to go down the collaborations and alliance way.
So I noticed somebody took themselves off mute. Did you have a question?
I probably didn't realize.
All right, well, I'm going to put them back on mute. Okay, so that way their background noise isn't in our ears. So as a follow-up question, and you alluded to it a little bit in your answer, what we see is, everyone's jumping on AI, everyone's jumping on machine language, everyone's jumping on, well, VR is kind of, it was really hot and now not so much, some of the other stuff, but cars, right? And so everyone's heading to the cars. And so I think what often we see too, though, is, that money tends to have a herd mentality. So, for a while, everyone was, all investing in social media, and a lot of great inventions and a lot of technology was completely being ignored. So, what are your thoughts on this? I wonder sometimes if, money is a little too herd mentality. Of course, they don't want to take a huge risk and be the only ones out there doing something. Because, they stand to lose a lot. But I feel like over time that we've become very, just, what's the word I'm looking for? Just very niche, or just very, we just go with everybody else, and we've stopped that cycle of, reaching out and doing something different, like we used to. So, I don't know, do you have any thoughts or ideas on that? Or do you disagree with me? Do you see places where, people are actually, taking those kinds of risks?
So I think what happens in a place like Silicon Valley is that, of course, technologies, and of course, people talk about disruptions, people talk about inflections. These are like the, really two keywords that everyone wants to get on. And no one wants to really be too late in the game because, Intel lost on the smartphones, but Samsung made their way through. So everyone wants to be able to go to the next big thing. And to go to the next big thing, you need the money. You need money to invest. You need money to do your own research. So I think there are two pieces. The one biggest piece is educating your executives. And I've seen that as a part of the process that I am in as well, where we really take a lot of effort to put a list of all the programs that we think are hot and we think have a lot of, the score that is required to actually put the money and move on. But what really needs to happen is listing them and trying to see what value they are going to create, what additional, addressable market are they bringing to your firm. And I think most people have started to take a step back and see that are they going to be able to add that, and are they going to be able to even get a market share in that addressable market? So it is all coming down to how you are positioning yourself, what your business model is. Are you going to, like for VR, are you going to go equipment? Are you going to go content? Things like that kind of help you realize what you are chasing, what your market is, and based on the competition, because there's always buzz, there are always rumors. People are always talking about who's doing what the Apples are doing, what the Googles are doing. However secretive they are, they're news, I know, everyone knows, right? That there is some sort of investment going on there. So I think that, like you said, money goes where to the next big thing, but educating your executives with your business model, with what your high value problems are that you're trying to decode, what is your differentiation that you're bringing in as a company, helps you make that decision whether you really want to chase down that path or not. Is it to commoditize? Will you hit a price war? Is it worth going through all that investment to sell something for $1? Do you have the volumes to be able to, sustain that? I think those are questions that, your gut or your intuition cannot answer. There's uncertainty, but there's also a evaluation technique to be able to kind of get through that. That's how I feel about it.
All really valid points, and I agree with you. I think you can find yourself in a race to the bottom if you're all heading towards the same thing.
Yeah,
absolutely. So does anybody else have any questions? All right, this is a very quiet group.
Yeah.
All right, so thank you so much for doing this amazing session. I think it's a great conversation. I look forward to seeing what you do at Applied Materials over the next few years.
Yeah.
I hope that you'll stay in touch with us on Global Tech Women, and that you'll participate in future sessions.
I will. It's been an absolute pleasure, and thank you for having me here. I really enjoyed this conversation.
I did too. I think you're a brilliant mind. I think Applied Materials is very lucky to have you indeed.
Oh, thank you. That is so sweet. Thank you.
All right. So that ends our session. Our next session is at 10 a.m. Pacific time, 1 p.m. Eastern. So we hope that you will all join us for our next session. Thank you. We're going to wrap this up.
Have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.
Thank you. You too. Take care.